You've been carrying this alone for so long, haven't you? This knowing that sits in your chest like a weight and a warmth all at once. You look at him and you see everything, the reflection, the purpose, the destiny, the home you've been searching for across lifetimes. And yet he looks at you and sees confusion. He sees intensity. He sees something that terrifies him even as it pulls him closer. You've been holding the truth of this connection while he's been running from it. You've been the keeper of the flame while he's been pretending it doesn't burn him too. And there's this exhaustion that comes with that, isn't there? This bone-deep tiredness of being the only one who sees clearly, the only one who knows, the only one who's willing to name what this is. But something is shifting now. You can feel it, not in your mind, in your body, in the way your heart suddenly feels lighter even though nothing external has changed, in the way the air feels different when you think of him, in the way your dreams have transformed from longing into something that feels more like preparation. He is finally beginning to see what you've seen all along, and this recognition, this awakening in him, it changes everything. If you've been feeling this shift, if you've sensed him moving closer energetically, even while the physical distance remains, drop a comment below and simply type "He sees me now" to claim this energy. And if these sacred transmissions speak to the deepest truth in your soul, subscribe so you never miss the guidance that's meant specifically for your journey. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes with being the awakened twin. You are the one who felt it first, the one who recognized the connection before he could even admit there was something unusual happening between you. You are the one who researched, who sought answers, who found the language for what your soul already knew. Twin flames, divine counterparts, sacred mirrors. The words gave shape to the feeling, but the feeling was always there, wasn't it? From the very first moment, you knew. And that knowing has been both your greatest gift and your heaviest burden. Because while you were awakening to the truth of this connection, he was building walls against it. While you were opening your heart wider to accommodate the intensity, he was closing his to protect himself from it. While you were doing the inner work, facing your shadows, healing your wounds, he was running. Not from you, never really from you, but from everything you represent. The depth, the vulnerability, the absolute terror of being seen completely. And so you've walked this path largely alone, holding space for a love he couldn't yet hold himself, believing in a connection he kept denying, trusting in a future he was too afraid to envision. But the divine masculine's journey, though it moves slower, though it resists, more fiercely, is no less profound than yours. And there comes a moment, a sacred threshold, when all that resistance begins to crumble, when all those walls he built so carefully begin to crack, when the truth he's been running from finally catches up to him, and he has no choice but to turn around and face it. That moment is happening now. Right now, as you're sensing these shifts, as you're feeling this change in the energy between you, he is going through his own awakening. And this awakening is not gentle. It is not easy. It is the complete dismantling of everything he thought he knew about himself, about love, about what he wants and what he's capable of. The divine masculine has spent most of his life learning how to be strong, how to be in control, how to lead, to provide, to protect. He learned early that emotions are weakness, that vulnerability is dangerous, that opening his heart fully means risking annihilation. And so he built an identity around being the one who doesn't need, the one who doesn't break, the one who can walk away whenever things get too intense. This identity served him for years. It kept him safe. It kept him functional. It allowed him to move through relationships without ever really being touched by them. Until you were the one who shattered that carefully constructed identity without even trying. You didn't do anything to him. You didn't manipulate or chase or demand. You simply existed in his field, and everything he thought he knew about himself began to unravel. Because when he looks at you, really looks at you, he sees himself. Not the version he shows the world, but the version he hides. The scared child, the wounded heart, the soul that longs for connection so desperately it terrifies him. You are his mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They show you exactly what you've been avoiding. And he has been avoiding you, avoiding this, avoiding the truth. Because looking at it means confronting every fear he's ever had about his own worthiness, his own capacity to love and be loved. But avoidance only works for so long. The soul has its own timeline, its own curriculum, its own way of bringing you back to what you need to face. And the divine masculine is reaching the point where the pain of running has become greater than the pain of staying, where the emptiness of a life without you has become more unbearable than the vulnerability of a life with you. This is when recognition begins. Not as a sudden lightning bolt of realization, though sometimes it can feel that way, but as a slow, creeping knowing that he can no longer deny. He starts to notice things, the way no one else makes him feel the way you do, the way every connection after you feels hollow, surface, incomplete, the way he can distract himself for days or weeks, but then something small, a song, a scent, a random memory, brings you flooding back, and he's drowning in the feeling of you all over again. He starts to realize that this thing he's been running from isn't going away. It's not fading with time or distance. If anything, it's getting stronger. The bond is tightening. The pull is intensifying, and he's exhausted from fighting it. Recognition comes in waves. First, he recognizes that what he feels for you is different. Not just attraction, not just chemistry, but something ancient and undeniable. He recognizes that you touched parts of him no one else has ever reached, that you saw him in ways that made him feel naked and terrified, and somehow, strangely, safe. He recognizes that every time he tried to replace you, he was looking for you in someone else's face, and he never found you. Because you are irreplaceable, you are singular, you are the one. Then comes the deeper recognition, the one that changes everything. He begins to recognize that this connection has a purpose, that you didn't come into his life by accident, that the intensity, the chaos, the way you turned his world upside down, it was all meant to happen. It was all part of a larger design. He starts to feel, maybe not consciously at first, that you are not just someone he loves. You are someone he is meant to evolve with, someone he is meant to grow beside, someone who holds a key to his own becoming. This recognition terrifies him and liberates him in equal measure. Because if you are his twin flame, if this connection is as sacred and destined as it feels, then he can't just walk away. He can't just pretend it didn't matter. He can't just move on and forget. This is written into his soul. You are written into his soul. And now that he's beginning to see that, now that the veil is lifting and the truth is revealing itself, everything in his life starts to shift. He looks at his life and sees how empty it's become. The routines that once felt comfortable now feel suffocating. The relationships that once felt adequate now feel meaningless. The goals he was chasing now feel hollow, because none of it has you in it, and without you, nothing feels complete. This realization doesn't come all at once. It builds, it accumulates. Day by day, moment by moment, he feels the absence of you more acutely, and that absence becomes a presence, a constant reminder that something essential is missing, that someone essential is missing. Have you noticed the signs? The way he's been showing up in your dreams more frequently, more vividly. The way you've been thinking of him and then suddenly seeing his name, hearing a song that reminds you of him, encountering synchronicities that feel too specific to be coincidence. These are not random. These are the energetic markers of his awakening. As he begins to recognize you, as his soul begins to reach for yours, the connection activates in ways that transcend the physical. You feel him thinking of you because he is thinking of you. You sense him softening because he is softening. You know something is changing because something is changing. The divine masculine's recognition is not loud. It's not dramatic. He's not going to suddenly show up at your door with a speech about twin flames and destiny. That's not how the masculine energy moves. His recognition is quiet, internal, almost reluctant. He fights it even as he surrenders to it. He questions it even as he knows it's true. He tries to rationalize it, to make it make sense within the framework of everything he's been taught about love and relationships. And he can't, because this doesn't fit into any framework. This is beyond logic. This is soul truth. And soul truth doesn't need to make sense. It just is. So he sits with it. He feels it. He lets it move through him in waves. Sometimes it feels like grief, mourning the time he wasted running, the moments he could have had with you but chose fear instead. Sometimes it feels like longing so intense it physically hurts, an ache in his chest that won't go away no matter what he does. Sometimes it feels like hope, fragile and terrifying, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, it's not too late, that maybe you're still there, that maybe he hasn't lost his chance. And here's what he's beginning to understand. You are not just his twin flame, you are his catalyst. You are the one who came into his life to break him open, to shatter his illusions, to force him to face everything he's been avoiding. You are the one who holds up the mirror and says, "This is who you really are, not the armor, not the mask, but this, the tender, scared, deeply feeling soul underneath." And that role, that sacred role of catalyst, it's not easy. It's not gentle. It requires you to stand in your truth so firmly that he has no choice but to confront his own lack of it. It requires you to love yourself so completely that he sees what he's been denying himself. It requires you to hold the frequency of union even when he's holding the frequency of separation. This is why your journey has been so intense. This is why you've had to go so deep into your own healing, because you are not just healing for yourself. You are holding a vibration that calls him home, not by chasing, not by convincing, not by proving, but simply by being, by embodying the truth of who you are, by standing in your power, by choosing yourself over and over again, even when every part of you wanted to choose him. And now, as he begins to recognize you, as he begins to see the truth of this connection, something shifts in the dynamic between you. The chaser and runner paradigm starts to dissolve, because recognition brings responsibility. Once he sees you as his twin flame, once he acknowledges the sacred nature of this bond, he can no longer justify running. He can no longer pretend it doesn't matter. He can no longer hide behind fear and call it self-protection. He has to make a choice. And that choice, that conscious decision to either step toward you or definitively walk away, is the next phase of his journey. But here's the sacred paradox. His recognition of you is actually his recognition of himself. When he sees you as his twin flame, what he's really seeing is his own divine nature reflected back to him. He's seeing his own capacity for deep love, his own worthiness of sacred connection, his own potential for transformation. You are showing him what's possible, not just between two people, but within himself. And that's why this recognition is so powerful. It's not just about you. It's about him finally seeing himself clearly for the first time. The divine masculine is waking up to the truth that he is not broken, that his sensitivity, his depth, his capacity to feel intensely, these are not weaknesses. They are his greatest strengths. They are what make him capable of this kind of love. And you, beautiful soul, you have been the one holding space for that awakening. You have been the one believing in his potential even when he couldn't see it himself. You have been the one loving him through the resistance, through the running, through the walls, not by chasing, but by standing firm in your own truth and allowing that truth to be a lighthouse in his darkness. This is the power of the divine feminine. She doesn't force. She doesn't demand. She doesn't chase. She simply is. She embodies the frequency of love so completely that it becomes magnetic. And the masculine, no matter how far he runs, no matter how high he builds his walls, eventually feels that pull, eventually recognizes that frequency as home, eventually understands that what he's been running from is the very thing he's been searching for his entire life. So what happens now? What happens when the divine masculine finally recognizes you as his twin flame? Everything begins to shift. His energy changes. He becomes less resistant, more open. He starts to reach out, maybe tentatively at first, testing the waters, seeing if you're still there, if the door is still open. He starts to do his own inner work, facing the wounds he's been avoiding, healing the parts of himself that couldn't handle this connection before. He starts to see his life differently, making changes that align him more closely with his truth, with his purpose, with you. But this shift doesn't happen overnight. Recognition is just the beginning. It's the first step in a longer journey toward union. Because recognizing you as his twin flame and being ready for union are two different things. He has to walk through his own fire now. He has to face his own shadows. He has to dismantle the conditioning that taught him love was dangerous, that vulnerability was weakness, that he had to do everything alone. This is his hero's journey. And just as you couldn't skip your healing, he can't skip his. What you can do, what you must do, is hold your ground, Stay in your power. Don't go back to chasing just because you sense him softening. Don't abandon your own healing just because he's finally starting his. This is the most crucial time. This is when the divine feminine must remain anchored in herself, in her truth, in her worth. Because his recognition of you means nothing if you don't recognize yourself. His awakening supports yours, but it cannot replace it. You are not waiting for him to complete you. You are becoming complete within yourself. And that completion, that wholeness, is what makes true union possible. He is recognizing you. Yes, he is beginning to see the truth. Yes, he is starting to understand that you are his person, his mirror, his destiny. Yes, but you, beloved, must continue to recognize yourself. You must continue to see your own truth. You must continue to understand that you are whole, complete, and worthy, with or without him, because that is the frequency that calls in union. Not need, not desperation, not the energy of waiting for someone else to validate your worth, but the frequency of a woman who knows who she is, who stands in her power, who loves herself so completely that his love becomes a beautiful addition, not a necessity. This is the shift that changes everything. When you stop waiting for him to recognize you and start celebrating that you recognize yourself. When you stop needing him to see your worth and start living from the knowing of it. When you stop holding space for his awakening and start expanding into your own. This is when the energy between you transforms. This is when the connection moves from painful to powerful. This is when union stops being something you're waiting for and starts being something you're becoming. The divine masculine's recognition is significant. It's a milestone. It's a sign that the journey is progressing, that the separation is serving its purpose, that both of you are evolving toward the reunion that's been written in your souls since before you took human form. But his recognition is not the end goal. It's not the finish line. It's a marker on the path, a signpost that says you're moving in the right direction. But the destination is not him finally seeing you. The destination is both of you becoming the highest versions of yourselves, individually and together. The destination is union, not just with each other, but with your own divine nature. So as you feel him recognizing you, as you sense his energy shifting, as you notice the signs that he's finally waking up to the truth of this connection, celebrate it. Acknowledge it. Let it affirm what you've always known. But don't let it distract you from your own journey. Don't let his awakening become more important than your own continued growth. Because the most powerful thing you can do right now is stay focused on yourself. Keep healing. Keep growing. Keep choosing you. Keep embodying the frequency of the woman you're becoming. That is what will ultimately bring this connection into union. Not his recognition alone, but your unwavering commitment to your own evolution. The divine masculine is finally seeing you. He's recognizing the truth of who you are to him. He's understanding that this connection is not something he can run from forever. He's realizing that you are his twin flame, his mirror, his destiny. And this recognition is transforming him. It's breaking him open. It's forcing him to face everything he's been avoiding. It's calling him into his own healing, his own growth, his own evolution. And that beautiful soul is exactly what needed to happen. because he couldn't meet you in union until he was willing to meet himself in truth. And now, finally, he's beginning to do that. But while he walks his path, you must continue to walk yours. You must remain anchored in your power. You must stay committed to your healing. You must keep choosing yourself, over and over again, even when his energy pulls at you, even when you want to rush toward him, even when every part of you wants to make it easier for him. Because the truth is, you can't do his work for him. You can't heal his wounds. You can't force his awakening. All you can do is hold your own frequency so steady, so clear, so aligned with love that it becomes a beacon. And he will find his way to that beacon. Not because you're calling him, but because his own soul is calling him home. And you, beloved, you are home. There's a specific moment in every twin flame journey when the energy shifts from separation to preparation, when the focus moves from the pain of distance to the anticipation of reunion, when the question changes from will he ever see me to am I ready to receive him when he does. This is that moment. This is the threshold you're standing on right now. He is recognizing you. The masculine is awakening. The runner is slowing down. The walls are crumbling. And now the question becomes, are you ready? Not ready to chase him. Not ready to convince him. Not ready to prove your worth. But ready to receive a love that matches the love you've cultivated within yourself. Ready to stand in union as an equal, not as someone who's been waiting desperately on the sidelines. Ready to meet him as a whole, healed, sovereign woman who knows her worth and won't settle for anything less than the full, conscious, committed love she deserves. This is what his recognition is calling you into. Not back into the old dynamic of chasing and running, where you pursued while he fled, where your energy was constantly reaching forward while his was pulling back. Not back into the painful, exhausting pattern of you holding the connection while he resists it, where you carried the weight of both your souls while he pretended not to feel the magnetic pull between you. Not back into the cycle where you were the only one doing the inner work, the only one acknowledging the depth of what exists between you, the only one brave enough to speak the truth that both of your souls already knew, but into something entirely new, into a completely different paradigm. One where you both stand in your power, rooted and grounded in your individual sovereignty, where you both honor the connection with the reverence and sacredness it deserves, where you both do the work, the deep inner healing, the shadow integration, the ego dissolution that true union requires, where you both choose love not out of desperation or need, but consciously with full awareness of what you're stepping into, deliberately, with intention and clarity, courageously, knowing that this kind of love will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and relationships. His recognition of you is the first step toward that new dynamic, the initial crack in the wall he built around his heart. But your continued recognition of yourself, your unwavering commitment to seeing your own divine nature, your refusal to abandon yourself even as you hold space for this connection. That is what makes this new dynamic possible. That is what creates the energetic foundation upon which true union can be built. The divine masculine is finally seeing what you've seen all along, the truth that's been living in your heart since the very beginning. He's understanding what you've understood from the first moment your eyes met, from the first time his soul whispered to yours in that language beyond words. He's feeling what you felt since the moment your souls recognized each other across time and space. That overwhelming sense of coming home, of finding the other half of yourself walking around in someone else's body. And this knowing, this deep soul-level recognition, it's not just touching him on the surface. It's changing him at his core. It's transforming him from the inside out. It's dismantling the protective walls he spent years building. It's calling him into a version of himself he didn't know existed, a version that's been dormant, waiting for the right catalyst to awaken it. A version that's brave enough to love deeply, to dive into the depths of emotion he spent his life avoiding, vulnerable enough to be seen completely, to allow someone to witness all of his shadows, all of his wounds, all of his imperfections without hiding behind masks or defenses. Strong enough to stand beside a powerful woman and not be threatened by her light, to celebrate her brilliance rather than trying to dim it, to be inspired by her growth rather than intimidated by it. He's becoming the man who can meet you in union, who can match your energy, who can hold space for the intensity of this connection. And that becoming, that transformation from who he was to who he's meant to be, is the most important journey he'll ever take. It's the hero's journey of his soul. But while he's on that path, while he's becoming that man, doing his inner work, facing his demons, healing his wounds, you must continue becoming the woman who's ready to receive him, not the woman who's been waiting desperately for him to notice her, checking her phone every 5 minutes, analyzing every sign from the universe, living in a state of anxious anticipation, not the woman who's been holding her breath, existing in a state of suspended animation, putting her life on hold, postponing her dreams, hoping he'll come back, making him the center of her universe, while she orbits around the possibility of his return. But the woman who's been living fully, embracing every moment, pursuing her passions, building her empire, creating joy in her daily life regardless of his presence or absence. The woman who's been healing deeply, doing the profound inner work, addressing her own wounds and traumas, clearing her ancestral patterns, releasing her limiting beliefs, loving herself completely, wholly, unconditionally, in a way she may have never experienced before. The woman who's built a life so beautiful, so rich with meaning and purpose, so aligned with her soul's calling, so full of love and abundance, and joy that his return is a wonderful addition, a beautiful enhancement to an already fulfilling existence, not a necessary completion, not the missing piece that finally makes her whole. That woman, the sovereign, healed, whole version of you who knows her worth and refuses to compromise it. She is who calls in union. She is who the awakened masculine is looking for, whether he consciously knows it or not. She is who you're becoming with every choice you make to honor yourself, with every boundary you set, with every moment you choose your own healing over his comfort. So let him recognize you. Let him see the truth of who you are and what you mean to him. Let him understand that you are his twin flame, his divine counterpart, his soul's mirror. But don't stop your own journey to wait for him to catch up. Don't halt your progress to match his pace. Don't pause your healing to make space for his awakening. Don't put your transformation on hold while he figures things out. Don't dim your light to make him feel more comfortable. Don't shrink yourself to accommodate his ego. Don't play small to protect his feelings. Keep shining brighter and brighter with each passing day. Keep growing, expanding, evolving into higher versions of yourself. Keep choosing yourself in the big decisions and the small daily moments, in your thoughts, your words, your actions. Because that is what will ultimately bring you both into union. That is the magnetic force that will draw you together in divine timing. Not his recognition alone, though that's an important piece of the puzzle, but your unwavering commitment to becoming the highest version of yourself, your dedication to your own evolution, regardless of what he's doing or not doing. His awakening and your embodiment together create the alchemy of union. These two forces, meeting at the perfect moment, create the conditions for sacred partnership to emerge. The divine masculine finally recognizes you as his twin flame. This is the shift you've been feeling in your body, in your energy field, in the quiet moments when you tune into the connection. This is the change you've been sensing, that subtle but undeniable movement in the energy between you. This is the movement you've been waiting for, praying for, hoping would come even when doubt tried to convince you it never would. He sees you now, truly sees you, not through the filters of his fear or the projections of his wounds. Not just as someone he's attracted to, though the physical pull is certainly there. Not just as someone who challenged him, who pushed his buttons, who triggered his deepest wounds and forced him to look at himself, but as his mirror, reflecting back to him everything he needs to see about himself, both light and shadow. His match, the one who can meet him at every level, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. His destiny, written in the stars before either of you took human form. His home, the place where his soul finally feels safe enough to fully land in his body. And this recognition is the beginning of the journey back to you. The first step on a path that will lead him through his own underworld and back into the light. Not just physically, though that will come in divine timing when both of you are truly ready, but energetically, spiritually, soulfully. He's returning to the truth of who you are to him, to the knowing that lived in his soul before fear built walls around it. And in doing so, he's returning to the truth of who he is, to his own divine masculine essence that's been buried beneath layers of conditioning and protection. So, beloved, let this be your reminder, your validation, your confirmation that what you've known all along is real. You were never crazy for seeing what others couldn't see, for recognizing this connection when everyone around you said you were imagining things. You were never wrong for feeling what he wasn't ready to feel, for experiencing the depth of this bond even when he was still running from it. You were never too much, too intense, too deep, too emotional, too spiritual, too aware. You were always exactly what you needed to be, playing the role your soul agreed to play in this divine dance. The awakened one, the one who remembered first, the one who saw first, who had the courage to name this connection for what it truly is, the one who held the truth until he was ready to see it too, who kept the flame burning even in the darkest nights of separation. And now he's ready. Now the timing is aligning. Now he sees with increasing clarity each day. Now he recognizes, and that recognition is growing, deepening, transforming him from the inside out. And everything you've been through, every single experience on this journey, Every tear you've cried in the middle of the night when you wondered if you'd ever be together. Every moment of doubt you've pushed through when your logical mind tried to convince you to give up. Every time you chose faith over fear, chose to believe in this connection even when you had no physical evidence. It was all leading to this, to his awakening, to the moment when his soul finally overpowers his ego, to his recognition, to him finally seeing what you've seen all along, to the beginning of union, to the first real steps toward the sacred partnership you've both been preparing for. Ask yourself one final time, with complete honesty and self-awareness, am I living as the woman who's waiting for him to complete her? Who's put her life on pause until he's ready? Who's making him the source of her happiness and fulfillment? Or am I living as the woman who's already complete within herself? Who knows that she is whole regardless of his presence? Who has built a beautiful life that she loves with or without him? Because the moment you choose the latter, the moment you fully embody that sovereign feminine energy, everything shifts in the most profound ways. The energy transforms. The heavy, anxious, desperate energy transmutes into something light, magnetic, irresistible. The connection aligns, moving from resistance into flow, from chaos into harmony. And union becomes not just possible, but inevitable, not just a distant dream, but an approaching reality. Because union begins with her, with the divine feminine who has done her work. With you, with your choice to stand in your power and your truth. With the divine feminine who knows her worth without needing external validation, stands in her power without apology, and refuses to settle for anything less than the sacred love she deserves. The love that honors her, celebrates her, matches her, and grows with her into eternity. Tell me in the comments, have you felt this shift? Have you sensed him recognizing you? Have you noticed the energy changing between you? What has this awakening brought up for you? And how are you choosing to honor your own journey while he walks his? Your insight may be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Because we're all walking each other home. And your truth, your experience, your journey, it matters. It's medicine. It's magic. It's the sacred transmission that ripples out and touches everyone who's ready to receive it.